Okay, hi. It's just 30 minutes, so we don't have time for latecomers. We get into it immediately. It is 10. How is everyone doing? I'm super excited about today's class because it's more of a practical class. I am Blessing Ingyape, the dyslexia coach, and I am not alone today. I'm here with, I hope you can see her. Can you? Okay, maybe, yeah, her face a little bit. And here is my little sister who is going to be helping us today as we look at fun activities on how to learn the letter A. No, not just the letter A, but alphabet generally. So while I was preparing for this class, I wanted to make it as practical as possible. And then I realized that you actually need to see what I'm doing. But sadly, my stand can't bend. It means I need to get another one, and I need to do a YouTube video that can help with this. Okay. So, but for now, this will help, and then I'm going to make another better video that you can get to see everything that is happening on the table. But for now, sadly, you won't be able to see everything that is happening on the table, but I'll be explaining it to you. So we're talking about fun activities. Yeah, and can you hear me? Let me be sure everyone can hear me. Okay, Ms. Doshima is here. Facebook user is here. Remember that you need to give Facebook the permission to tell us your name by clicking on the link that has been, I'm sure it's attached to this video somewhere. Yes, so that I can get to interact more with you and know who and who is here. So let's get started. And when it comes to teaching children with dyslexia, I always say it's very, very easy. These methods are simple, and these are methods that every regular teacher can use and every regular teacher knows. But then there are particular ways you have to use it to get results. So, yes, we all know that kids should write on the sand. Okay, little sis, if you need to sit down, if you're tired, sit down, okay? I need to ask you to stand. Okay. So this method, it depends on how you use them. These are regular methods, but the simple trick here is how you use them. When you're teaching kids who have learning difficulties, letters or numbers, you need to realize that you have to take it one step at a time. What do I mean? For other teachers, I've realized that when they're teaching kids, they bring all the numbers together. So for instance, the curriculum for the term is to learn 1 to 10. Now, because you have worked with other kids and you realize that it's most kids learn 1 to 10 through repetition, maybe 1, 2, 3. Everybody says 1 to 10. You write it on the board, and then everyone learns and everyone knows. Sadly, should I maybe sadly for you, but not for the child, it doesn't work that way with children with dyslexia. You need to take a letter at a time. There is a particular child I'm taking, and when I started taking that child, I was going through the child's previous work because the child had a lesson teacher before now. When I had accessed the child, I realized that the child was on number 5. Now, how do you know if a child is on number 5? If a child is able to give you the number 5, show you the number 5, say the number 5. So we started screening from 1 to 5. Give me 1. 1 on the paper, 1 on the board, 1 everywhere. Okay, now, what number is this 1? So in special education in dyslexia, we call it decoding and encoding, or receptive and expressive. Let me use that word, receptive and expressive. So you're able to tell me that this is 1. I have a number 1 here, right? Let me use any number. So you're able to tell me that this is 5, right? What number is this? 5. And you're able to also answer me when I say point at 5. So point at 5, you're able to point at 5. And if I ask what number is this, you're able to tell me this is 5. So we tried all of this from number 1 to, we're trying from 1. I was able to do it for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. From 6, it became a problem. So it means that we have to pause on 5 and continue from there. When I was going through this child's work, I realized that the teacher would give the child to write 1 to 10. Now, I'm not even talking about writing yet. I'm only talking about expressive and receptive. We even haven't gone into writing yet, that this child was being made to write 1 to 10 and couldn't even do it because mom was so frustrated. I was like, for each time she saw those homeworks, A to Z, 1 to 10, she's like, but that's why we brought you here, so this child can learn this. Is it that it's by giving homework that this child will get to learn this 1 to 10? Because she really didn't understand and she kept looking for help until she found us. So you have to realize and figure out where your student is. And it's not just by counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are things that are involved. One, receptive. The child should be able to show you that number or that letter. That's actually the first thing. Show me A. Give me A. Point at A. Great. Then after that, expressive. The child should be able to tell you that this is letter A. But for our case here, I'm holding 5. So what number is this? This is number 5. So I've mentioned the first step, which I said, take a letter or a number one at a time. And under that step, I've said, ensure that the child knows it receptively and expressively. Receptively, the child can point at it when I give instructions for that child to point at a particular number or letter, and then expressively, the child can tell me when I ask that, what number is this? So, up. What number is this?
Number 5.
Okay, and can you give me number 5?
Yes.
All right, let me have it. Good. Number 5. Ta-da! So we have gotten our number 5. Also, you need to know that it's not just at that instance that the child has given to you that the child has mastered. Have you ever noticed that you teach a thing today, tomorrow you teach the same thing and the child doesn't remember? Another big mistake that teachers make is that now that my little sister has given me this number, I'm going to say, yay, you know your number 5. Don't rejoice too soon. Well, rejoice that the child was able to give you that. Be excited, but don't write mastered yet because the child might not remember the next day, or for some kids, they may not even remember immediately. I might just ask them again, what number is this? And they forget. So you want to pause for a while. So for me and for what works for us at Dyslexia Help Africa too is that we wait for a week. So if a child was able to give me this number and identify it the same way my little sister just did, I'm going to do that again on Tuesday. I'm going to try that again on Wednesday. I'm going to try that again on Thursday. While I'm getting ready to introduce the other numbers, I'm going to try that again on Friday. And after that, I'm going to say, wow, this child has mastered. And that's not all. One intensive way again is that I don't just sit down and say, because the child was able to give me 5, the child has mastered. I'm going to ask the mom, please, can you help us check out if your son knows this number? So she'll give us the feedback. When you ask the child, was the child able to give you? She'll say yes. Okay, check. So you can see, check on my end, check on the parent's end. And if I have another teacher, which we do at Dyslexia Help Africa, I'm going to say, okay, Ms. Doshima, I need to check if this particular child has mastered this number because on my table, the child mastered. So help me check too. She's going to check. And if the child has mastered, check. If the child wasn't able to tell the mom that this is number 5, either receptively or expressively, guess what? Not mastered. And this is the foundation of everything. That's why I'm spending a lot of time on this, because it is a foundation. Sometimes we just run because a child was able to identify a number in a particular day. And we forget that you're working with a child who has a peculiar issue. You might ask for this same number or this same letter the next day, and the child might forget. Or probably the child answers only to you. The child feels that, okay, yes, when it's you, this is number 5, but when it's mom, it is not. Or when it's Miss Doshima, it is not. So you want to try all of those things too. Did you get value? Believe me, if you get this first part implanted, inscribed in your heart, you're making an amazing progress. Now to the next step. Did you get that? If you got that, please just type. I can see your comments coming in. Just type. Although most people are Facebook users, but I can see you, Doshima. I can see you. Miss Pham. Yes, thank you for joining. So secondly, use the materials that the child likes. So for today, well, my little sister is not dyslexic, so these materials are not exactly for car, but for one of my kids. And these are some of the things that he likes. He likes puzzles. We have puzzles here. He likes colorful things. He also loves cars, and luckily they have lots of toys, so we get to use lots of his toys to learn. He loves the idea of writing on the sort. We have sort here, and we have puzzles. So you have to ensure that you're using, so that you can sit down if you're tired. You have to ensure that you're using the materials. Ensure that you're using materials that the child likes. So you need to know your student. So for some of my students, cars, they love cars, especially boys. Boys are crazy with cars. For some of them, dolls. So you need to figure out what your student likes. I need to find a way to incorporate it. Like when I'm also looking for games online for that particular child, I ensure that I look for games that have to do with cars. So you have games of the child fixing numbers on the car, the child tracing letters. It just has to do with cars, and it makes them very, very excited. So, number one, take a letter or a number one at a time, follow the child's pace. It gets to another point that sometimes you can introduce up to 3 letters, up to 4, depending on the child's cognitive level. But usually, when you're starting the intervention at the initial stage, you always have to start with 1 letter at a time. But it gets to a point where your child is just bam, 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 mastering it. The brain has, there's this flexibility of the brain that's become flexible. It is absorbing more. You can now move it to 2, 3, 4. Remember, depending on your child's cognitive ability. And then the second thing I said is that use learning materials that the child likes. This is very important too, because when we step into the class, most times we step in with the materials we like. No, first figure out the materials your student likes. And if you're working with a diverse number of kids, it means you have different options, because some will love balloon, some will love toys, different cat toys, some will love dolls, some will love sand. So you have lots of resources in the classroom. So don't come into the classroom. So for instance, if I was to teach my own sister personally, I'm not going to just assume that because my student loves puzzles, colorful things, and cars, I'm going to bring that same material into her class. I want to be sure that she loves these materials too. But for someone like her, I know she's more crazy with teddy bears, so I'm going to go towards the teddy bear area. Okay, that is important. Did you get that? Did you write it down? And then, to the third part, use the multisensory approach. The multisensory approach is such a simple approach for anyone to use. But why is that some teachers still have issues with it? It is how you are applying it. Some teachers believe that if I am using the multisensory approach, if it's visual, then it's multisensory approach. No, multi, or like others say, multi-sensory means I'm using lots of senses at the same time, not just one. So I'm using the visual, V, I'm using audio, I'm using tactile, I'm using kinesthetic. Okay, ensure that you have all of these things represented in your lesson. So let's take an example here that I want to teach my student the number 2. Usually number 1 is sometimes very easy for kids to learn. It starts becoming hard when you're getting to number 2. And my child likes the puzzle. So I'm first going to start. Remember her receptively. This is number 2. This is number
2.
Number
2.
Okay, so I'm going to say, give me 2. Can I have 2? Thank you. Remember, my child has learned 1 already, so I'm most likely to put 1 and 2 together and say, give me 2. Let me have 2. Good. Thank you for giving me 2. Good job giving me. I think she moved closer. Good job giving me the number 2. Of course, you know that when you're working with a child who has learning issues, it's not that easy, because sometimes the child is going to give you 1, or the child is trying to think about it and all of that. But first, you want to ensure that you have done this. So we're going to be doing a little assessment here. So this one we just did, the multisensory, which of the approaches in the multisensory approach do you think we have used? So is it visual? Is it tactile? Is it kinesthetic? Is it audio? What do you think? I would love to hear your views. So she's giving me two. I'm also going to probably have a song on number two. Now that's another thing you need to look out for also. When teachers are getting audio or video materials for numbers, they get for an entire number. So for instance, you're teaching a child number two, but you have an audio that has 1 to 10. That is distracting. Remember the power of focus. I think that's when light, light, we have light in this room right now, but when light is focused, it can pierce through this phone, it can pierce through my body, laser, right? Yes. So the power of focus, you want to focus on the particular number or numbers that that child is learning. Okay. So don't just have a video or an audio that is playing 1 to 100, 1 to 10. You can find a video that has just number two. And thank God for technology, you can actually create your own too. But you have lots on YouTube because I always find them. When I just want for number two, let's look for a song on number two, and I get it. Number two song, and we just focus on it. Number two, dun, 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 dun. Okay, that's my own song. Okay, so now she's giving me number two. So I'm going to say, okay, can we fix number two? We'll have a puzzle here. I'm going to make a YouTube video on this so that you're just seeing what is happening on the table. So let's fix number two. Good job fixing number two. Great. Number two. So this is
number one.
And this is
number two.
Okay. Now that's easier, like I said, because she doesn't have any learning difficulties. As a matter of fact, she's smarter than her age. So she has shown me the number two. She has fixed the number two. She has listened to a song on number two. I'm going to, now you have to also, in this aspect, you need to figure out your goals. Usually when I'm doing number or letter goals, I want to do identification and writing. I want them to go hand in hand, except the child is not able to handle it. That's best actually because you're learning it at the same time. And that's why I have my sort here, because this particular child I'm talking about actually loves to write on the sort. Before we started the intervention, the mom said he totally hated to write. So we had to bring in the sort, right? And when we brought in the sort, we're able to combine this sort and him writing on his paper. Because usually we say, if you write on the sort, if you write on your book, I'm also going to give you an opportunity to write on the sort. And because he likes it, it always works hand in hand. So he's writing more on this sort, but we're also not neglecting the fact that in the real world, you don't always write on sort, you write on paper. And also in the real world, you don't always write, you also type. So don't forget that. Accommodations for your student. So I'm going to have my students, okay, let's write. Right now we're writing on the sort. So I'm moving here because I assume my child already knows how to write one, and that's simple. Most kids know how to write one. So if it's a child that doesn't know how to write yet, I want to first of all hold their finger, okay? Two, let's write two. And if it was my student, he'll start laughing. He just likes that sensory feel of salt all over his hands, two, and he'll follow through. Two, let me hear you say two.
Two.
So as they're writing, ensure that they are saying two. You can also bring in words that will help you, like a cup and a dash. Now I have a student who writes to like an S, but the other way. So this dash helped me a lot when I was trying to correct that. So, they will just write to like this, looking at like an S, but there has to be a defined dash down there. So a curve and a dash. So let me hear you say it.
A
curve
and a dash.
Good. Again.
A curve and a dash.
Good. Now it's very important for your child to say this, because when you need them to remember, when you're working with children with dyslexia, like I always love to give an example. It's like a child drowning or somebody drowning. For a child with dyslexia, if they are drowning, they need something to hold their hands on. So, for instance, they are drowning in their inability to recognize a letter, they are drowning in their inability to recognize a number. They need to have a life jacket somewhere that they can hold their hands to. And all of this, a curve and a dash. All of that are the life jackets that helps them. Okay? So when they forget it, you can say a curve, and then they remember, yeah, a curve and a dash. So they don't get to drown in their inability to learn numbers or recognize a number, but they write it. Now, another activity again that is usually very helpful is, so this one we just did about the salt on the multisensory bench. Which one is that? So let's say we are identifying number. What number should we identify? Number what?
Number 3.
Okay, she said number 3. So I'm going to have number 3 here. This is actually my sticky notes. I'm going to put it on the wall. I'm going to have 1. I'm going to put it somewhere else on the wall. I'm going to have 2. I'm going to put it somewhere else on the wall. So now, assuming that my student knows 1 and 2, but right now they are struggling with identifying 3. So I'm going to have more of 3s on the wall because that's the number we are focusing on. And remember, how do you know that it's time to move to another letter? You know it is time to move to another letter or another number. Now, these things apply to letters and numbers. You have to move to another letter or another number when the child has identified it expressively and receptively, and the child can also do that same thing, not just with you, but with any other person in the family or in school. So, I'm going to say, Didi, can you please go around and bring all the number 3s for me? Now, remember, I've already told her at this level, it's okay, hold on a bit. At this level, just so that the teacher is not here and doesn't just start with the activity. We have already looked at 3. We must have looked at 3. This is number
3.
So to an extent, I've shown her that this is number 3, and we're trying to let that number 3 stick in the head. Remember, we're going to focus on just number 3 because she can now identify 1, she can now identify 2, and we're now on 3. So can you go around the house? Sorry, do you need water? All right, take some. Okay, so can you go around the house or around the classroom? What happened? I think I'm frozen. Okay, I was frozen for a while, but I guess I'm back. Am I back? Am I back? I'm seeing myself here. I was frozen on the screen for a while. Went to drink water and he went around and get me number 3. Waiting. Number 3, Didi, number 3. Can you give me all the number 3s? I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 number 3s. Can you bring all of them for me? And for this particular child of mine, he loves to move around. So he's jumping around the house, looking for 3, looking for 3, looking for 3, and it's exciting. Have you found all the number 3s?
No.
Okay. Number 3 only. Thank you. Good job giving me all the number 3s. But like I said, of course, my sister doesn't have a learning difficulty. She's actually too smart for her age. So she was able to get all of the number 3s. Now, I'll give you an example of what happened when I did this activity with one of my kids with dyslexia. He went around and he was able to bring one number 3 for me. I had 4 of them. And the rest, he would look at it and he will not bring it. Now, that's where prompt comes in. That's my third part, right? Okay, no, that's actually give the student the opportunity to think, but we'll get to that. So he brought just one number 3. He brought just one number 3 for me. and was running around looking for the other threes. And they were on the wall. He was seeing them. He would even go and look at it. And was still, he finally came back and told me he found only one number 3. So I had to now give him this. I said, go with this number, look at this number, and any number on the wall that looks like this number, bring it for me, okay? So he went round and said he didn't see any number that looked like this number. Does that sound frustrating? Well, if you're it like I and Miss Dushma were talking, I think 3 weeks back, you have to just settle your mind that this is what it is and these kids need help, okay? And that's why you're there. You shouldn't get frustrated. Rather, you should get what's the word? When I find the word, I will let you know. So after going with this same number and looking at all of the numbers, he still couldn't find number 3. And I had to go with him. What number is done? Do they look alike? Yes, so it is number, and we're able to bring all the numbers. And then I gave him another activity to pick all the number 3s and put in a box. And at that point in time, I was able to pick all of the number 3s and put in a box for me. So this activity that we just did, where does it fall in the multi-sensory? Visual, it is kinesthetic, is it tactile? Which of them do you think? Now, when you have done, these are just a few activities for the short period of time that we have, and these are just a particular activity for a student. There are some kids that don't like salt. You want to use numbers. Now, this thing is rough. Okay, it's sensory. So if you have a child who doesn't like salt, this is sensory and they can trace it. You see, it's called glitter paper. We use it a lot here. So, and then for your child who likes colorful things, another activity you can do is that you can create with this. So let's create the letter B. You can create letter B with yours. Remember to always create it the way you write it. So a curve here. And then another curve. Oh, my B is going to look funny. And another curve. This is quite a fun activity. That okay. Network keeps hanging a bit. So we have B here. So we have created. You're almost there. Good job. E with it. They are called pi. So I have my letter E. I know it's not looking like E from your end, but from my end it's like a small E, right? Great. So you can do all of that. To look at is activities you want to, oh, great. Yay, see, she did her B. Exciting. Exciting. So for some kids, they love balloons. You want to put the letters into the balloons, blow them. Like this kid loves to pop balloons. Although I don't like it, but I have to do it for him. So we have the balloons with letters and numbers inside. So you pop the balloon and you pick up the letter and you tell me what letter or what number is there. Very exciting. So these are just a few activities for a particular child, okay? Not even for all the children. There are more that you can find. And I'm going to also find time and do more YouTube videos to help us see more of these activities as they come up. So as we round up, we looked at one and we said what? You should take a letter or a number at a time. Secondly, we say you should use the materials that the child likes. Thirdly, we said you should use the multisensory approach. Fourthly, give the student the opportunity to think. Now, that is what I did. When the child was looking for the numbers, I didn't just go immediately and say, no, this is 3. No, this is 3. I gave time, and that takes us to prompt hierarchy. As you're given time, there's something called prompt hierarchy. So first, go and bring the numbers or the letters. He couldn't bring them. Secondly, take this. This is what I need you to bring. Go and bring it. That's a prompt hierarchy. Thirdly, okay, let's go together. Does this look like this? then let's have it. So you can see you're giving your child the opportunity to think. What most teachers do, I think maybe because they are rushing or something, they're like, this is two. I mean, they're just telling the child that this is two. No, you need to let the child be able to figure out that this is two, and you can do that through prompt hierarchy. If you don't know what that is, you can Google it and learn more about it. Then I'll probably maybe have a training this Thursday on our WhatsApp group on what, okay, no, I can't have prompt hierarchy now. We're looking at the Dyslexia Bible, but I'll probably find, okay, I should do that next week, right? If you would like me to look at prompt hierarchy on 30 minutes of Dyslexia with Blessing next week, Saturday, then let me know down in the comment section. And then finally, don't use all of the form methods in one lesson. So the fact that we're saying that you should use fun activities, don't gather all the fun activities in one lesson. So for instance, I'm not going to use this and also use the salt because they are actually having the same purpose. So I'm either going to use the salt or I'm going to use this. Okay. So I'm also going to choose, am I going to use a puzzle today, or am I going to use a sticky notes today, or should we form this today? So I don't come into the class doing all of the things I just did here with the child in one sitting. No, maybe on Mondays we use the salt. On Tuesdays, we decide to form our letters. On Wednesdays, let's play with the puzzle. So different activities for different days, okay? All right, so that is it for today. I've taken 3 of your minutes, but I want to believe that you got so much value, okay? By the time you listen to all of the tips I've shared in 30 minutes, believe me, your child with dyslexia is most likely to learn their letters easily. These are the same methods that we have used here with our kids. We are seeing results. And I believe that if you use them properly, you will also see results. Remember, the key word is using them properly. And I'm going to round off as a dyslexia teacher that I am by emphasizing on them. One, take a letter at a time. Don't do A to Z, brrr, okay? And this should also be the same thing that you do when they are watching videos. Let them watch videos on the particular letter you want them to learn, not on all of the letters. Remember, focus, intentionality, have a goal. This week, you're going to master letter C. This week, you're going to master D and E. Have a goal, be intentional, a letter at a time. Secondly, use materials that the child likes. Thirdly, use a multi-sensory approach. Fourthly, give the student the opportunity to think. If they are not getting it, don't just hand over the answer to them, but lead them through ways that can help them think. And you can do that through the fifth point, which I wrote here, apply prompt hierarchy. And finally, don't use all of the form methods in one day. Pick the ones that you want to use depending on your lesson for that day. Did you get value? I'm sure you did. So if you're watching now, let me know the 5 steps I just mentioned. I'm always looking for someone who can win my t-shirt, so that more people can have a t-shirt saying there are no limits, every child can learn. And if you're also watching the replay, please let me know. You can drop your questions and I will respond to them. So I'm going to go offline now and I'm going to go into the comment section. I'm going to be responding to your questions. I'm going to see that person who gets all of these points I just mentioned in one. Remember, in one, not in different comments, right? All of the 6 points I just mentioned when it comes to teaching kids alphabet in fun ways. And I'll be looking out for your comment so I can award you a t-shirt. So from me and my beautiful sister, we're saying bye. Her name is Dee. So help me say a big thank you to her. She's going to be helping me in days that I have practical classes. Thank you for being here. Goodbye, people.